volunteer firefighters battled to save livestock and property in a huge grass fire. A posh Edmonton neighborhood teeters on the edge. And in Sports Plus, Stampeders and Lions face off for first place.
CFCN News with Shelley McCrugan.
Good evening. Firefighters battled a huge grass fire outside of Cochrane today. Smoke could be seen for kilometers as grazing land went up in flame. Hundreds of acres were blackened. As Bill Marks shows us, dozens of firefighters and volunteers were called out to keep the flames away from homes and livestock.
At its height, the smoke could be seen from all parts of Calgary. It started shortly after 12 noon. The cause? Officials here suspect a discarded cigarettes to blame. Within minutes of the alarm being raised, more than 20 firefighters from Cochrane, Redwood Meadows, and Madden arrived. Another 20 volunteers from nearby also came to help, using brooms, shovels, whatever they could get their hands on to battle the flames. Larry Coper, an area rancher, pitched in to help his neighbor.
Keeping it away from the houses up here, and he's got some cattle down over here, and those are the main concerns.
Within minutes, the fire raged across the open plain. Bill Boothby owns this land. All he could do was watch as more than 300 acres of grazing land burned black, useless as feed.
I was talking to one of the firemen. He says, it's only grass. Well, grass is our livelihood.
You've had 7 of these this summer alone.
5 in the coulee, 1 over east, and 1 here.
Tankers sprayed the perimeter of the fire, trying to keep it contained. It didn't take long for the grass fire to literally take off. Buffeted by high wind, the fire quickly consumed hundreds of acres of grassland.
They're probably gusting somewhere between 30 and 60 kilometers. Fortunately, this is a very hilly area, so the fires burned slowly down the hill, so we were able to get ahead of it. But when it was on top, it would, of course, blow away and makes it quite difficult.
By mid-afternoon, the firefighters had gained the upper hand, finally getting the fire under control. In the end, nearly a section of land had been scorched black. Bill Marks, CFCN News, Cochrane.
Tourism in Banff National Park is killing our bears. That from grizzly bear researchers. Researchers want a 2% cut in the number of humans allowed in the park. They say increasing contact with humans is killing the bears. One researcher says tougher restrictions are needed because a study indicates grizzly bear deaths far outweigh the number of births. A group of Edmonton homeowners have been evacuated and can only wait as their houses teeter on the edge of an eroding cliff. Saturday, they watched as a $500,000 home tumbled into the North Saskatchewan River. Sheldon Larmand reports.
We had a fair amount of time.
But it ran out sooner than expected for Ken Bowes and his wife. Their luxury home sits beside a cliff that's been on the move. Yesterday, it claimed their neighbor's $500,000 house. They had moved out 2 weeks earlier.
Theirs was, it progressed considerably beyond ours. And I think last week, ours was where the Skinner's was 6 weeks ago.
Bowes claims the 1979 report from the city pointed out riverbanks are inherently unstable, but that this one would hold for 50 years. Now it's feared the house could go at any time. They had been preparing to move, just not so soon.
It's a matter of, could be a few days, could be a couple of years. And we hoped it was 2 years. We started to pack, but we thought we had a fair amount of time.
Today, with time and safety at a premium, the fire department was called in to help. Beds, couches, clothing, as much as possible while the property was still safe to enter.
Moving in 5 men at a time, getting stuff out, moving another crew in, getting stuff out, and then reevaluating every 10 minutes because the house is very, very close to falling.
While firefighters scramble to save what they can in one home, engineers have decided this house is completely unsafe to go into. Its contents will be left up to fate. Last night, using flashlights, police tactical squad members emptied the contents of 3 other homes.
All the big furniture moved out in 15 minutes. It's really great. They did a very good job.
They even moved the pool table.
This morning, homeowners on the far side of White Mud Road were allowed back after a night in a hotel. Their neighbors across the street are considering what to do next.
I guess we've got to buy a new house and get a new mortgage.
The city has taken soil samples to try and find out why the land is sliding and ways to stabilize the slope. 2 houses sitting on the edge are expected to go over, but no one knows when. Calgary's Colombian community gathered today to show support for their home country and peace negotiations. Calgary's Colombian community gathered at the Rocky View Alliance Church. Pastor Jairo Rojas says Colombia is in a difficult time, and those in Calgary and around the world want to show their support. He says the Colombian community wants to tell people still in their home country that even though they live outside of Colombia, they are still concerned about the country and want peace.
We have been going through a very difficult time. We are living in a moment of a lot of turmoil. People from the guerrillas, the narco-traffickers, and the government are going to sit today to start negotiating the peace in Colombia.
Rojas says Colombians worldwide want peace for their country. In 1 week, little ghosts and goblins will be crisscrossing our streets, and police, EMS, and other emergency services are getting ready.
What we would ask the parents to do is ensure that, especially the smaller children that are wandering around, wear reflective clothing, go in groups, and if they are very young, be accompanied by an adult. Watch for traffic, and we're asking that the residents of the areas, if they're out driving around, to be aware once darkness falls, because there will be numerous children running around the area. We ask them to use caution when they're driving through the residential areas and watch for small children.
The Partners for Safety program, made up of police, EMS, and shock cable trucks, will patrol the streets. Anyone with a concern or problem can flag them down.
You're watching CFCN News, Calgary.
Welcome back. Vicki Chase joins us now for a look at the weather, and things aren't looking too bad. A little windy today, but other than that.
We had some sunshine, 16 degrees today,
Yeah,
so very
warm.
nice despite the wind. Yeah, tomorrow looks good as well at this point, yeah. Bumping road on Tuesday, but we'll get to that in a second here, yeah. Let's go outside with the CFCN Skyview camera. We're talking about this cold front and the wind that affected us most of the day today. Overall, that frontal system moved through around 9 o'clock this morning, and the winds gusted at the worst. They were out of the northwest at 60 kilometers per hour. Then they died down and kind of picked up again later on in the afternoon. Overall, though, that frontal system did move through, heading through southern Saskatchewan. A wind warning was in effect for them earlier on this evening. Behind it, we have the clear skies. For us, we have an area of high pressure that is building into the BC area. This high will move down to the south, and in the early morning hours, we'll have fairly light winds and likely out of the southeast. By the afternoon, they should pick up out of the southwest to a westerly flow. And with that, the Crow's Nest area, winds 50 to 80 kilometers per hour. Here in the city, we're expecting winds in the late afternoon around out of the southwest, about 30 to 50 kilometers per hour, gusting maybe at times. But overall, a nice day. We'll have some high-level cloud, so a mix of sun and cloud, and not that bad. The provincial forecast up to the north, very cool in Wood Buffalo high-level regions with -7, 0 for most other areas, and then 7 tomorrow with some cloudy conditions for the north. -3 in Edmonton and Red Deer, and a high tomorrow of 13 degrees with a few clouds. Lethbridge and Medicine Hat. You had a nice day today, of course, windy, but we had the wind throughout the entire province of Alberta. 17 degrees for tomorrow, and the mountain parks. Increasing cloud overnight tonight and for tomorrow afternoon, 10 degrees for a high. The East Kootenays will see a low of around, oh, there we go, -3 tonight, and then 12 degrees with just a few clouds for tomorrow. We'd look at our extended forecast, and we have 14 tomorrow. Now, another little system moves through on Tuesday, dropping temperatures for us. We rebound Wednesday, Thursday. The long range, well, overall, not that bad, except Sunday. There looks like a system is building, and if it heads in the direction that it is right now, Sunday it should come in and will drop the temperatures for us. That will be short-lived. The sad part is it is on Halloween.
Yes,
but
that's not nice.
Yeah, so with any luck, I'll be wrong. Okay. I never want to say that, but in this case, hopefully the system will come early or be delayed, and we'll get off lucky for Halloween.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Thank you, Vicki. Stay with us. Tammy Christopher is up next with Sports Plus.
CFCN Sports Plus with Tammy Christopher.
Good evening. The Stampeders and BC Lions continued their rivalry this afternoon at McMahon Stadium. Stampeder win would give them a share of first place in the West with the Lions. BC head coach Greg Mons had never lost a game against the Stampeders, and Wally Buono was looking to put an end to that. First quarter, Dave Dickinson on target for a wide-open Calvin Anderson, who makes a one-handed catch. Then it's Dickinson to Dwayne Ford, who takes it a yard for the touchdown, his third and the Stampeders score on their opening drive, which is a rare thing this season. They're up 7-0. Second quarter, Lions with the ball, but Damon Allen is intercepted by William Hampton, his 8th of the season, and this wouldn't last long, though. Dickinson on the run scrambles, but is stripped of the ball. Johnny Scott strips it and recovers it. Lions get the ball right back. With this catch, Stampeder receiver Travis Moore hits the 1,000-yard mark for the season. It's the first time he's accomplished that. Has 1,023 yards at this point in the game. Third quarter, Calvin Anderson taken down on this play. He would not return. In fact, Anderson re-injured his ankle and was replaced by number 14, Rock Preston, who is on the run here. He was the leading rusher, 15 carries for 80 yards. With the score 11-0, Stampeder defense, strong performance today. Rookie Mark Pilon takes down Damon Allen. The defense held the Lions to 203 yards on offense and just 1 point on a missed Louis Pasaglia field goal. Mark McLaughlin rounded out the scoring with this 32-yard field goal. The Stampeders shut down the Lions. They win 14-1. Both teams have identical 11-5 records. Stampeders are 1-3 against the Lions this season. The Stamps win 14-1.
It's nice to see everybody finally show up, and we had a complete game. It was awesome. We enjoyed it. And hopefully, hopefully, we're going to continue on and even do it a little better next time.
Our offense has just been waiting to break loose. I mean, I don't think we really broke loose this game, but it's going to happen. It's starting to come together.
They threw some different stuff at us as far as the defensive point of view goes, and we definitely had to adapt and make some changes, but I definitely don't think that we played as well as we could have today. You know, I think that the defense kept us in the game, and they did their job and gave us an opportunity to win this game.
They came in, they cocky, we're cocky, like I said before. And two great teams out here playing hard with the intensity that we had today. This is how it's going to be playoffs. So every game from here on out is a playoff game.
We're playing better. I mean, offensively, we weren't good enough to put a bunch of points on the board, but we're good enough to win. And we actually played all right. At times, we looked pretty good. So, you know, we know that it's going to come down to these last two games. And, you know, we still need a little bit of help. But if we're playing well going into the playoffs, we'll be happy with that.
We got 2 games left, and then we go to the playoffs. And right now, we're still in first place because of the tiebreaker. And as long as we match Calgary game for game, or win our bottom line, if we win our last 2 games, it's over. Step down next case, we have the home field, and then they have to come to our place.
Well, it's obviously when you play a team that many times, you know, what can you do different? I mean, they probably pretty know us. They know as well as anybody because we played them, you know, I think 5 times so far. It's just unfortunate that, you know, big game like this, as a team, and not necessarily, I'm not talking about our defense, because I thought they played very well.
You know, you're not going to walk into McMahon Stadium week in and week out. I don't think you're going to come out here with a victory if you don't take care of business. We knew it being an intense game. We knew they were going to wear their black jerseys, so it wasn't anything about the black jerseys. It just came down to who wanted it most, I guess, in the end. And, hey, they won. But the bottom line is you look at it tomorrow and you wake up, we're still in first place. That's the key.
Stampeders' next game and final regular season home game is next Sunday against Montreal. It's a 2 o'clock start. The Lions, meanwhile, will host Hamilton. Ticats were in Regina this afternoon to face the Rough Riders, and results saw the Ticats record 42 points as they set a club record for points scored in the season. Hamilton got 2 touchdowns from Ronald Williams in the first half, both from a yard out. Ticats led 19-6 at halftime. Then Danny McManus runs this touchdown in himself from 3 yards out. Hamilton defeats the Rough Riders 42-12. Ticats share the league lead with an 11-5 record. Riders are 3-13. Ticats now have 551 points, while the Riders suffer their 7th loss in a row. Jeff Garcia made his 4th start for the San Francisco 49ers this afternoon as the Niners visited Minnesota. Garcia getting the #1 job in place of injured Steve Young, but the Niners would lose their 3rd in a row. They haven't done that since 1980. Vikings won 40-19. Garcia falls to 1-3. 49ers fall below 500 with a 3-4 record. Undefeated St. Louis Rams against the winless Cleveland Browns, and things stayed that way. Warner to Brown for this touchdown. Then Warner hooks up with Williams, and St. Louis wins 34-3. Rams improve to 6-0. Browns are 0-7. Denver at New England. Terry Allen rushed for a season-high 106 yards, 2 touchdowns. New England held off Denver 24-23. Broncos with a chance to win it here, but they missed this field goal. Patriots win. They're 5-2. Dallas Cowboys broke out of an offensive drought and ended a 2-game losing streak. They defeat the Redskins 38-20. Deion Sanders with a punt return, and he had left with a mild concussion in the first quarter, but returned in the second half. Cowboys are tied with Washington for the NFC East lead. Detroit Lions in Charlotte, North Carolina. Quarterback Charlie Batch finds David Sloan for a 22-yard touchdown strike. Lions with a 24-9 victory. They remain atop the NFC Central Division with a 4-2 record. Doug Flutie and the Bills lost their second game in a row. They fell to Seattle 26-16. The Bills are 4-3. Also, Miami improves to 5-1. They defeat the Eagles 16-13. In a game without a single touchdown, Tampa defeats the Bears 6-3. Colts over the Bengals 31-10. It was the Giants defeating the Saints 31-3. Green Bay over the Chargers 31-3. And the Raiders got by the Jets 24-23. It was a special night in Atlanta as baseball's all-century team was introduced at Turner Field. We'll have the highlights from the pregame festivities and from Game 2 between the Braves and Yankees. That's next. Members of baseball's all-century team were introduced prior to Game 2 of the World Series in Atlanta tonight. It was a special night for many of the game's greatest players, including Pete Rose.
If you're a baseball fan like Spike Lee is, today was like being a kid in a candy store. Even Junior was in awe.
Look at what these guys done, you know, throughout their careers and the records that they still hold, and the records that may not ever be touched.
High recognition that I ever received to be considered one of the top pitchers in the century, and to be in the company that I'm in.
You know, Nolan's the best. I mean, there's some great ones in there, but obviously I got to see Nolan and a guy like Seaver a little more. But you know, I was on a team with Seaver, so now I can say I'm on a team with Noli. So it's very exciting for me.
Oh, this is great. This is great. I never thought a kid from the Hill in St. Louis making an all-century team. And there's a lot of good players out there, boy.
11 of the 30 players on the list had New York ties, proving the city's deep and dominant baseball roots. One all-century teamer talked about the Yankee lore.
Certainly am jealous of the success that the Yankees have had presently and probably in the past. And you want to be a part of an organization that wins titles.
And somewhat overshadowing the event and a controversial topic is that Pete Rose, the all-time hits leader banned from baseball for allegedly betting on games, was on the list of the greatest.
I'm very happy about that. I think maybe it's one of the needed first steps in Pete's return to baseball.
Pete says he didn't bet on the games, and baseball says he bet on the game, but I have a real problem with anyone who bet on the game being in the Hall of Fame.
Game 2 highlights. First inning, runners on first and second. Paul O'Neill singles home Chuck Knubloch. It's 1-0 Yankees. 2 batters later, Tino Martinez hits a single up the middle, scores Derek Jeter. It's 2-0. 98 Series MVP Scott Brocious comes through again, brings home Martinez. 3-0 Yankees on 5 hits. Top of the third now, Ricky Leday hits the ball to the gap, scores Bernie Williams. It's 4-0. Bottom of the 7th, David Cohn striking out Andrew Jones with runners on the corners. He allowed only 1 hit in 7 scoreless innings. The Yankees win 7-2. They lead the series 2-0 and have won 10 straight World Series games. Braves have lost their last 6 games in World Series play.
We didn't give up that many, but we you know, we're a team of good pitching and timely hitting, and we did not get runners on tonight to do anything.
When we know what our capabilities are, we don't try to go outside ourselves. I think that's very important. That we just think in small bits and bites, because that's what we need to do. We don't have home run hitters. We can hit home runs, but we don't have home run hitters. And the pitching pretty much sets the tone for what we do.
Game 3 is in the Bronx on Tuesday night. Well, the Flames are off until Tuesday night. They'll be in Atlanta to face the Thrashers. There were 4 games in the NHL tonight. Canucks continued their road trip. They were in New York for a meeting with the Rangers. Peter Schaefer scores a pair of goals and assisted on Mark Messier's empty net goal. He's now tied with Mario Lemieux for 6th place on the all-time list. Canucks win as Kevin Weeks records the shutout, stopping 19 shots. The Rangers get shut out for their 3rd straight game. Also, the Panthers were shut out. They fell 2-0 to Philadelphia. Flyers have won 4 games in a row. Bruins won for the 2nd time in as many nights. They edged Anaheim 3-2. And it was LA 4, San Jose 3. Hitman on the road. They defeat the Regina Pats by a final score of 5-1. The world's #1 golfer, Tiger Woods, became the first player in nearly 20 years to win 6 PGA Tour events in a season. An alligator watched on from the waters in Florida. Woods avoided the kind of mistakes that knocked out Ernie Els and Bob Tway. He closed with a 1/73 to win the National Car Rental Classic at Disney World. Captures $450,000. Woods is the first player since Tom Watson in 1980 to win 6 PGA events in a season. Ernie Els finished 1 shot back. Bob Tway finished 3rd. Mike Tyson has fought 8 times in the past 8 years, and not many of those bouts have been without controversy. The latest fiasco happened last night in Las Vegas. That story is next. What would a Mike Tyson fight be without some controversy? Last night in Las Vegas, the Tyson fight between Orlin Norris was ruled a no contest. That was because Norris failed to continue after the first round when he suffered an apparent knee injury after he was hit by Tyson after the first round bell sounded. Tyson says Norris threw the fight.
He's taken to the hospital on a stretcher to have his knee looked at. The unhappy ending, though, found Tyson claiming that he was the victim.
The reality of the situation is he could have got up and continued to fight. I put that heat on him, and he didn't want to continue. I was hearing all this stuff. He's a tough guy. He's not going to lay down. He's not like anybody else. He's going to come to fight. He's a good boxer. And he didn't. Listen, to fight me alone, I don't care what whatever you say about me, good or bad, you got to have heart to even get in the ring with me.
Exactly.
You know, and what he just, the way he conducted himself, he should feel bad about himself. He should feel disgraced about himself. And the real fighter fights they can't fight no more. Many times when I fought Buster Douglas, I could have quit that fight. When I fought the Holyfield the first time, I could have quit that fight. I took my beating like a man.
Referee Steele, at the time we asked him, he said that he didn't know. He said it was an accidental foul by the rules of the Association of Boxing Commissions. The guy couldn't continue Orlin. We asked him if he could continue. He said his knee was twisted. Dr. Homansky checked his knee. His head was fine. He would have continued if he could have, but he wasn't able to, and that's why it's a no contest.
I believe if this was a Mike Tyson, it wouldn't be that big an issue. There have been things that have happened that I've seen. This was not flagrant. They even ruled it unintentional.
If anyone's competitive, no. If you're able to continue, you continue, even if your leg is fractured, broken, anything. If you're a competitor, you continue. And he wasn't in that bad a shape not to continue. And I'm just tired of it. I really don't even want to fight no more. I'm just tired of all this shit, really.
Finally, tonight, a look back at some of the plays from this past week. That's it for sports tonight.
Thank you very much. We'll take our final break here on the CFCN Late Night News. When we return, it's a hauntingly good time of year at the Calgary Zoo. We'll take you on a scary tour right after this. The Calgary Zoo has been transformed into a haunted treasure island. Boo at the Zoo is drawing huge crowds for things like the Eye of Newt Toss, the Forest of Eyes, and of course, visitors must see the demon of darkness that dwells in the volcano at Prehistoric Park. CFCN photographer Wes Metz visited the island and gives us a tour.
We're having fun! A lot of fun!
I got scared there.
Why didn't you hold my hand?
I thought, well, I tried, but you kept running ahead.
Aren't you a bunny?
Yeah.
Hey, the bunny! Turn him around. Show him your tail, Zach. You are a pig.
Hi.
What's that? Everything. Good horn.
And Boo at the Zoo goes 6 to 8:30, all the way till Halloween.
Oh, some cute costumes,
I know. Have a good night.
Good night.
It's a fact that tobacco